Hello everyone, you're watching the Brentwood Beat. I'm Juliette Lamar, and in the news this week, Hotel Bel-Air is ordered by a judge to pay tens of millions of dollars in back wages to former employees. And Brentwood family is continuing to search for their son, Dane Elkins. How you can help. So stay tuned. But first I want to tell you all about our sponsor, Santa Monica College. With more than 90 fields of study, is a leader among California's community colleges in transferring students. There's a seat for you at Santa Monica College, so find your classes today. Our top story, a local surfer, Beck Adler, you might know him, is an 18-year-old from Venice who's been taking on some big waves at Brentwood Beach in Northern California. We caught up with him for an interview about what it's like to catch the big one. Check it out.
So I started surfing when I was like 2 or 3. My dad was pushing me in the waves at Driftwood down in Venice. And that's pretty much where I learned. That's where I caught my first wave, and that's where I grew up surfing. I've been surfing Mavericks for like 3 years now. Going back to that day on the 8th, I caught a wave early, just like a nice fun one on the shoulder, and completed it, rode it to the channel. So that felt good. And then I was like, okay, I really want to get a bigger one. Yeah, that wave came in, and I was in the perfect spot. I was like, okay, here I go. And I whipped it, and I started paddling as hard as I can, and get to my feet and look down the face of this thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this wave is so much bigger than I thought. But I was like confident. I was like, I got this. And I airdropped like just a little bit and just disconnected from my board, and then it's just complete like chaos. You're just getting whipped around, limbs everywhere, like don't know where you are, don't know up or down. And I don't know how big it was. It's always hard to say. I would say it's probably like between 30, 40 feet maybe. It felt pretty big. I was pretty scared of big waves when I was young. Didn't really have any desire to surf big waves. I always was like interested in them, but I was always scared too. And I started surfing with Eve's Bright a bunch. He's been surfing Venice since he was a kid. So I started surfing with them a bunch, and they kind of showed me like, this is what you have to do if you want to get more comfortable in bigger waves. And so I just kind of listened to them and surf with them on bigger days. And it's a hard thing to explain, because like when you're out there, you're so in your head, everything's telling you no, no, no. And then all of a sudden here comes this wave and something switches and you're like, oh, this is the one. And once you hit that switch and turn your spin around and go for the wave, there's really no turning back. What's next? Well, I definitely want to obviously be at Mavericks every swell again next winter, and then for sure Jaws. That's a huge goal of mine. Well, I just want to say thanks to everyone in Venice and at home for supporting me, and thanks to my parents for supporting me. And it feels good to come home and feel the love.
And now for what's happening in your neighborhood. This week, the National Labor Relations Board issued an order to Hotel Bel-Air to pay potentially tens of millions of dollars in back wages and benefits for almost 9 years of lost earnings to over 100 former employees. The initial case was brought on in response to a complaint alleging that Hotel Bel-Air violated federal labor law by refusing to rehire over 150 former employees after a temporary closure due to remodeling, in order to avoid recognizing and bargaining with the labor union unit here, Local 11. The judge's decision comes after nearly 10 years of court hearings. It highlights the slow pace of the legal system. The NLRB's ruling will require Hotel Bel-Air to reinstate the former employees, make them whole for loss of earnings and benefits, and make delinquent payments to benefit funds, which could total tens of thousands of dollars, because it's been quite some time. The search continues for Dane Elkins, a 21-year-old UC Santa Cruz student and Brentwood local who's been missing since December 20th. Elkins has brown hair and green eyes. He stands around 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighs around 170 pounds. He might now have grown facial hair. He was last seen near the 5 freeway and Templeton Highway in the Castic area, where his car was also found. Anyone who spots him or has any information on his whereabouts is asked to contact LAPD's Missing Persons Unit at 213-996-1800. Dane's family has also set up a Facebook page for anyone who has information or has spotted Dane to please share that information on Facebook at Searching for Dane Elkins. Well, that is all the news that we have for you today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Juliette Lamar, and you take care.